Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite and the world's favorite bearded man, Bobbbaaaay. We're back, episode 8, in the building on Easter Sunday. We're cooking up. The content don't stop. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are hitting day 30 of the quarantine. As you can tell, I'm alive, I'm well, I'm breathing. So everything is going good for the bearded man. We're in this together. You know what I'm saying? We are in this together. We're going to keep rocking and rolling. I don't know how much longer this is going to last, but as it does, I'm going to keep cooking up, and there's just no stopping now. So I hope you guys and gals are doing well. Big props to my man Dylan Reese, who's about 6 feet away from me in his room right here to the left. Gave me a fresh lineup the other day, so I feel much more refreshed. If you're watching visually, you can probably see the beard looks a little bit cleaner. Still getting way out of control. But it definitely feels nice to have, a little clean lineup. Beard looks fresh for, the nobody that I'm actually seeing. But yeah, gives the boy some confidence. Been watching a lot of comedy on the downtime. Dylan has definitely put me into comedy. Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, Louis C.K. I think Sebastian Maniscalco, I hope I pronounced the last name right, is by far my favorite comedian that I've seen thus far. Still early on in the comedian career for me. But he's absolutely hilarious. A book that I'm reading right now is called Grit by Angela Duckworth. If you're watching visually, I'm putting it up. This is, I can already tell, 80 pages in, probably going to be one of my favorite books. And it just talks about kind of how talent and, genetics, things that we're kind of born with, obviously play a huge role in success. But I think grit is something that can be taught and learned, but I think that's ultimately the success factor for a lot of people. I think Will Smith says it great where there's this quote about him talking about, going against somebody on a treadmill, and he's either going to, keep running until he dies on the treadmill. I'm definitely completely butchering what he said, but he just talks about this idea of just continuously showing up and putting in the work. And I think that's been so much of my career where I recognize I might not be the smartest one in the room. I'm not the most talented, or there's obvious weaknesses of mine, and which is totally fine. I think we all have our weaknesses. But this book, Grit, is literally exactly what I needed to read, because it just reminds me that in the long run, it's those who put in the work, who continuously show up day in and day out, are the ones that, make it in the long haul for whatever their career is. So I think that's a great book I've been reading recently. A couple movies I've been going through. I'm just seeing these for the first time. The Big Short that came out in 2015. Heat, which was a crazy movie with Robert De Niro, when it came out in 95. Ford vs. Ferrari, that was last year. And then No Country for Old Men, watched that last night. So I've definitely been utilizing the downtime and trying to, just watch things and stay busy. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. Reading, watching movies, comedy specials, and just, trying to soak in as much as I can. Got to give a big shout out for the review of the week for this week, coming for Kristopher Avilla. I hope I pronounced the last name correct. Shout out to my man Kristopher, who put us at 31 reviews. Let's clap it up. 31. I'll take it. It's better than 30, all right? And he said, Bobby's always killing it. Such an inspiration and a relatable guide to the people. I've had a hard time finding quality podcasts that I can relate to until I found It's the Bearded Man podcast. So my man Kristopher, wherever you are in the world, thank you for listening. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And for anyone that's listening right now, if you want to be the review of the week next week, go leave a review on the iTunes podcast app. It'll make you so happy, right? So cool. So today's topic, what I wanted to dive into, is being productive from our home, my home, how I'm staying productive. We're coming up at 3 weeks, almost a full month at really working from home. And I think a lot of people have probably figured out how to stay productive within their house or their apartment or wherever they live. But I wanted to kind of show and talk about how I've been doing so, in the hopes that it brings you guys and gals some value. Maybe you're just entertained listening to me, or whatever it is. So hopefully this is somewhat valuable to the people that tune in. I do understand that, working from home is a big switch for a lot of people. I've been very fortunate where, building my whole podcast career was literally out of my bedroom, right? It was like a mental switch where I would wake up in the morning in the same room, and then 3 hours later, I was recording a podcast with some incredible guests. And I learned how to flip this switch in my mind where it's like, yes, this is literally the room you sleep in, but this is also the room where you're running your professional career, where you're trying to, play the part of running a full studio out of your bedroom, the rodeo, the bedroom studio. I live with, my roommate Dylan. He's been working from home for a long time. My other roommate Steve runs his business out of our garage. So I think I'm fortunate that I'm around people that also have been doing this for a long time, because you just learn how to maneuver. We all have different schedules, and so like right now they're both doing their thing and not interrupting me so I can record this, or when they're working on something I know not to bother them. And I think it's probably difficult for a lot of people, because if you have roommates, everyone's forced to work from home. Everyone has different schedules. Some people want to be working in one spot, other people want to work another. There's probably a lot of difficulties, but it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to become lazy, but it can be done. Like I said, I think it's just it's a flip of a switch, and I think the ultimate thing is building structure in your day. For me personally, I know everyone's different. I'm not saying that you have to follow what I'm about to talk about to be productive and to get things done, but I'm definitely somebody who likes structure, and I do certain things that help prepare me mentally to actually all right, it's time to work. We'll kind of dive into that today. But yeah, we have no idea how much longer we're going to be in this quarantine. So hopefully it's a lot shorter than what they estimate, but if not, we're just going to keep enjoying it and trying to make the best of the situation and be grateful that we're happy, or we're healthy. I don't want to say happy, because I know this is a tough time for a lot of people with job situations. I know a lot of people in my network that are creatives that freelance a lot of work. This is probably a huge downtime for them, especially people in the music industry. I mean, everyone that I really know, I think, is in a difficult situation, but it's all about perspective, as my man Gary Vee would always say. And, if you're healthy and you have a house over your house, or, a roof over your head, and you have food, that's great. But yeah, so we'll get into that today. So how do I stay productive from my home? I know you guys and gals are just so anxious to know. And so here we go. Buckle up. Let's get into it. Number one is, like I said, creating structure for my day. That's huge for me. That first week working from home, I definitely blew off the structure, because I was like, oh, it's like a staycation for a week. This is only going to be like a week thing, and I'll be back to my normal schedule a week later. Quickly realized that wasn't the case, and so I had to adjust and actually build some structure. So literally, I've just tried to treat the day the same, where I'm waking up at the same time, 6 a.m. I know pretty much my body knows that I eat literally the same time of day for at least the weekday when I'm working. It sounds crazy, I know, but it's almost like training your body to understand when it's time to eat, when it's time to work, and you just building out structure. Where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be, and what you're supposed to be doing. I think that has ultimately, building structure in my day, I think has saved me a lot of time and energy, because I'm not asking myself the questions of when should I cook or when should I eat, what time should I work out, when should I go grocery shopping. I don't have these thoughts or these questions in my head, because I know exactly when I'm supposed to do it. I grocery shop every Saturday. I work out every morning before I start my day. So I've built these structures into my life, because it allows me to know that when I sit down to work at this desk, it's time to work. Or, when I was operating a podcast out of my bedroom, I knew that when I set up the lights and I put up the blinders on the windows to block out the light, and I get everything prepped, I know it's game time. I know it's time to start, cooking. It's time to start podcasting. And I think the structures have ultimately helped me become the flip of the switch of, it's time to work out, it's time to read, it's time to meditate, it's time to journal. I know I can tell you where I'll be, and or what I'll be doing at what time of day, because I've built this structure, and it's ultimately been super, super helpful, because I know what I'm supposed to be doing and when, and it eliminates a lot of time and energy thinking about these questions every day that we could spend using elsewhere. Next thing that helps me stay productive from my home is my morning rituals. That hasn't changed since working remote. It's the same thing. The first thing I do when I wake up every morning at 6 a.m., that's a given. Next thing I do right after I wake up, meditate for 10 minutes. I use an app called Waking Up with Sam Harris. Extremely, extremely helpful. I suggest anyone check it out. I believe they offer a 30-day free course. After that, I journal for a full page of notes, just my thoughts, whatever is brewing in my mind, whether it's good, bad, whether I'm feeling motivated, whether I have a lot of things on my mind. It just helps me like get these thoughts out onto page, and nobody reads it except myself. I don't even reread it. I just put these thoughts on a piece of paper, close the book, and I continue on with my day. But I think it's helpful when I have things that are bothering me and I don't really want to talk to anybody about it, because it's just like, it doesn't need to be talked about. And it's like this journal has become this place where I just put my thoughts on a pen to paper. And if somebody got access to it, they'd probably be like, yo, this guy is cooked with the amount of things he thinks about, but it's all good. Next thing after journaling, that's when I work out. Because I've been working from home, I found YouTube tutorials. I have no weights, which has been extremely, extremely difficult. But 2 YouTube tutorials I've been following is a page called Official Thenics. Really helpful. A lot of workouts, especially if you don't have any weights. So I found them to be extremely beneficial. And then another guy named Simon Panda. This guy is absolutely ripped. Unbelievably. Like, I can't even imagine. This guy's just ripped. It's literally, I don't even know what it would take to become somebody of that size and that ripped up. But he has some great YouTube videos, which has been helpful. So I work out for 45 minutes to an hour. After that, shower, get prepped for the day. And then I sit down and read for 30 minutes. Right now, like I said, I've been reading Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance by Angela Duckworth. So I've been reading for 30 minutes. That kind of gets me. I read a lot of self-help books. I love reading people's stories and understanding how they got to where they are today. And I think there's a lot that I take little gems and incorporate into my life. Also serves as a good constant reminder of staying patient and putting in the work, and just understanding like people go through a lot of different journeys and getting them to where they are today. So then I read for 30 minutes. After that, I eat breakfast, and then that puts me right around 8:30, 8:45, and I start working at 9 a.m. So I think the morning ritual has been extremely, extremely beneficial, always has been, but even working from home, it's even more crucial because it's priming me for the day. It's jump-starting my day. I live by this like philosophy of, if you win the morning, you win the day. And that's not about like how early do you get up in the morning. It literally has nothing to do with that. It's more about, what do you spend the first 1 to 2 hours of your day doing? That's what the whole like, you win the morning, you win the day. People see me probably posting on Instagram if you follow me there. I don't do that because I expect people to get up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. I do that because I'm showing people like what are the first things that I do in the morning. And I found that to be extremely beneficial. Just priming ourselves for the day through that morning ritual. So the next step of how do I stay productive from my home? So we have the creating structure for the day. We have morning rituals. Then the third aspect would be a healthy diet. That is so crucial. I think it is extremely important that you pay attention to the actual food you're putting into your body. High proteins, like healthy for you. I'm not going to sit here and preach different diets because I know some people are vegan. I know some people don't eat carbs. I'm not a health expert, but I think we all can agree that eating the right foods and like feeding our body healthy things are beneficial because it gives us more energy. It makes us feel better throughout the day. Our mindset's much clearer. Drinking soda, eating candy, eating cake, that's good in balance, right? Like I had more than enough cake last night with some candy, and I laid down last night and my stomach was rumbling. My roommate Steve just brought home this amazing like triple chocolate cake. His birthday was this past week, and this thing had my stomach rumbling. But it's good to have the balance. Like, I'm not saying you can't enjoy these foods, but I think there is definitely a feel for when you eat that food and when you don't. And so one thing that I'm huge on is just paying attention to what I'm eating throughout the week. High proteins, clean food, lots of chicken, Greek yogurts, like things that are proven to be healthy for you. Once again, not here to preach diets because I know everyone's different, and the last thing I want to do is tell you to eat meat. Or I'm just saying be cautious of the proteins that we eat and the liquids that we consume. I think it's really, really important. And going off of that, I think meal prepping is huge. Kind of what I was talking about earlier of having structure in my day, knowing when I'm going to eat. I also know what I'm going to eat because I meal prep for like 3 or 4 days in advance. And then that way all the food is made, and it can seem tedious to be eating the same meals every single day. But I don't know where this stemmed from, but somebody once said, are you living to eat, or do you eat to live? And I think you want to eat to live. You don't want to live to eat. Live to eat is like just consuming anything and everything. Eat to live is like giving yourself the right foods because you want to keep living. So meal prepping has been huge. It saves me so much time and energy. You know, when I have a lunch break for an hour from work while working from home, I literally just go to my fridge. My food's already there. Put it in the microwave, heat it up. I eat it. It's like literally 15 minutes from start to finish of like putting the food together and then eating it. And then I have 45 minutes extra to myself instead of like bringing out the pots and pans, cooking up the food, spending 20 minutes like making the rice and this, that, and the third. And then all of a sudden whole hours go by. So that's been really, really helpful. It saves me a lot of time and energy. So yeah, meal prep is huge, and on top of the food that we're actually eating. Next thing, big one. Talked about this on episode 7 on the last podcast, but limiting alcohol consumption is huge. Okay, I definitely went off the rails within that first week, and not in the sense of like I was like tossing bottles back and like cracking brews left and right, but I definitely was just casually having a couple beers every night, and that's not really the ultimate. It's not gonna like really derail me, but once again, that is something that I can feel the difference when I wake up in the morning. And I've learned to look at alcohol consumption as like a treat, right? It's like a reward after a long week. I've talked about it on this podcast before, a couple episodes ago, about like how I've gone through a weird journey with booze, like heavy in college, then like went on this like 2 or 3 years of really like downgrading a lot. I would go weeks. There was like a couple of times I think I would go like 3 or 4 weeks without even touching any booze because I was just so head down and every single day like trying to grind, trying to hustle. But I think it's all about just letting the booze become like a reward after a long week. So I don't touch during the week, only on the weekends. And yeah, it's been really, really important, especially with all this downtime. I know I see people like posting. It's kind of funny, like they have like these. They're taking a paper plate. They're drawing the plate into like multiple pieces of a pie. They put an arrow in the middle and they spin it. It's like, how should I spend my time? Read a book, watch a movie, crack a beer, this, that, and the third. And the beer's always like a real small slice because obviously that's the last thing they should be doing, but they also want to do it. But yeah, just like trying to avoid that because it's a side distraction, and it's all about just limiting the amount of booze consumption because you can't really stay productive. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun and it's balanced, but you're not really going to be able to stay productive every day, I think. But once again, this is my bearded 2 cents. So, if you're drinking a bottle of red wine every night at dinner and you're getting your shit done, hey, by all means, keep it going. I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do. This is, once again, just the way I've been treating working from home. Next thing, big one. This is huge. Get outside. If you're I know, now this is tough to say because I know New York City's in complete lockdown. I know San Francisco's in lockdown, so like you can't. But for me, living in Los Angeles, that has been huge. Running 3 days a week, usually 4 days a week at the end of the day, working out in the morning and then going for it at the end of the day has been so important to just like clear my mind. Running, smelling the fresh air, hearing the birds chirp, seeing like people like walking by, keeping my 6 feet apart. Most of the time I'm having to run out onto the road because people are very cautious about their 6 feet. But that's been really beneficial, or even just going for a walk, cranking up music and just kind of letting my mind just clear. Or even just reading outside has been awesome too. During lunchtime, I'll sit outside for 30 minutes. I'll even sometimes work out there for an hour or two in the afternoon just to break up working at this desk and also working outside. But if you are somebody that is stuck inside and can't go outside, which, like I said, San Francisco, New York City, and I'm sure there are other places in the world right now that you can't leave your house. Literally crack open a window. Literally, I swear that's a game changer. When I'm sitting here at this desk working throughout the week, I always have at least one. There's 2 windows right here to my right and a big one behind me. I always have at least one of them cracked because just feeling the breeze and like hearing, another beneficial thing, if you're following me on Instagram, sitting where I'm sitting, even though, I'm at a desk, I'm looking outside, I have people that are walking by me all day long. I got a lot of great dogs walking by, the good boys in the neighborhood, giving them shout outs on Instagram if you've been following me. But just getting like fresh air has been so helpful because it's easy to get stir crazy being indoors all day. But I think there's something about like fresh air that helps us stay energized and focused, and just, not being able to go outside as, shouldn't be going outside. Just having a window crack has been beneficial. And I think some of this probably sounds so obvious, but sometimes we just need either a reminder or, once again, I'm just laying out the way I've been staying productive, and hopefully it's somewhat valuable to anybody that actually listens to this. And then lastly, having balance. I mean, I've talked about that in previous podcasts before, even like the last week's. That's just really helpful of, there's always more work to be done. I've come to the realization, obviously, that there's always more work to be done. Doesn't matter what line of field you're in. Doesn't matter what you're currently working on as a passion project. There's always going to be more work to be done. And so I try to treat it that at the end of the day, especially during the weekday when I'm more just head down on liquid IV, I don't really touch any of my personal stuff during the week. I kind of save that for the weekends because I try to just treat it so that, the operating hours right now for me are 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. with an hour lunch in between. When I shut that laptop at 6 p.m., that's it. I'm done for the day. There's a couple of times I'm cracking open the laptop and there's other things I want to work on. But I try to give myself that balance that when the end of the day reaches, shut it down. I'm good for like solid 8 to 9 hours of good work. And then I feel like I'm kind of forcing it after that. And I'm not even really enjoying it because I'm just tired. So embracing the balance is beneficial because it allows me to come back the next day stronger, more rested. It's good to like step away from the work. And sometimes I think I found my best thoughts to happen when I'm not actually in the process of working. Like I'm working out, I'm taking a shower, I'm at the grocery store and I see something that inspires me. I'm listening to a podcast. There's times when I'm resting that I actually make progress without intentionally thinking about it. So I think it's important to step away, rest, enjoy the downtime, and come back the next day with a clear mind and, a better headspace because you had the rest. So I think having balance is really important in productivity. Neglected that for a long time, talked about it a lot in the last couple podcasts and a lot of my content, but you got to step away at some point, I think, and it helps us just stay more productive. This has been a nice little quick episode, a little 20-minute productivity, from working from home. But ultimately, I just think it's like building structure is the key. What we've gone through today. Is it possible to stay productive from our homes? Absolutely. The ways in which I'm making sure to stay productive breaks down into creating structure for the day, knowing what I'm supposed to be doing and when, finding morning rituals that help me jumpstart the day. It's not, like I said, the morning philosophy. You win the morning, you win the day. It's not about what time you wake up. It's just about what do you spend the first 1 to 2 hours of your day doing. I think that's really helpful for priming us for the day. Next would be paying attention to our diet and making sure it's healthy foods that give us energy. After that was, limiting the amount of alcohol consumption. Once again, if you're cracking a bottle of wine every night at dinner and you're getting your shit done, like, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. But personally, for me, I know that limiting alcohol consumption to just the weekends is really, really important. After that, getting outside and feeling the fresh air. If you can't do that, crack open a window. I'm not saying sit by the window and inhale it and exhale it, but just that breeze can sometimes clear your mind. And then lastly, just having balance. Slow down after a busy day. Be okay with watching some Netflix, YouTube, or just, decompressing and stepping away from the work. There's always more work to be done, and I think it's beneficial to step away from the work, come back with a clear mind the day after. Like I said many, many times, this is just how I'm staying productive. Hopefully it's beneficial. Hopefully it's helpful to you. And hopefully there's something that you can take away from it, or maybe just a tweak in your mindset and change of perspective of like how you can adjust and be more productive in your day. If you enjoy this podcast, as I always ask, super, super important, smash that like button on YouTube and drop a comment. Really, really important for YouTube comments. Just getting, more interaction. If you're listening on an audio podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, screenshot the podcast, throw it up on your Instagram story, and tag me at Bobbbaaaay, B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. Really helpful. And let your followers know what you enjoyed about the podcast. I would love to hear what you learned or just why you enjoy listening to it. Lastly, if you really, really, really enjoyed it, head to the iTunes podcast app, leave a 1-sentence review or a 1-word review about what you honestly think about this podcast. As I said, we're at 31 right now. I'll take it. But of course, we got to keep trying to grow that naturally and organically. And so the more reviews, the more exposure this gets. And then hopefully you will get to be the review of the week. How sick would that be? Pretty sick, I would say. But yeah, I mean, I hope you guys and gals are enjoying It's the Bearded Man podcast. This is a lot different. If you've followed me since Purpose in the Youth, this is clearly such a different platform and such a different podcast, right? It used to be interviewing people. Now this is much more just coming from me. So it is definitely an adjustment, but I'm enjoying having this medium to just talk about things I want to talk about and truthfully just trying to be a voice in the world and helping people because, I think I've learned a lot in the last couple of years, and sometimes I take it for granted that maybe other people, not take it for granted, but I recognize that other people haven't learned this before, or haven't had the medium to learn it. So I'm hoping that this podcast becomes the place where I can continuously push out this energy and the lessons and the stories that I've learned. But especially right now with like this whole quarantine and coronavirus, I feel it is my duty to create content around this. Because why am I going to sit here and talk about like, this is how you chase your dreams? Nobody's doing that right now. Everybody's stuck home. So hopefully I can be a medium or an outlet for people to go to learn, to make progress, and to embrace kind of the situation we're in. If there's a specific topic you would like me to talk about, hit me up at Bobbbaaaay on Instagram, YouTube, all the platforms, BO, 3 Bs, 4 As, and a Y. And that's it. Happy Easter if that's what you celebrate. I hope you enjoyed it with your family and friends. I hope you guys and gals are healthy, safe, and well. Keep pushing, and we'll see you soon enough. That's episode 8 of It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite and the world's favorite bearded man, Bobbbaaaay. We'll see you guys and gals soon enough. See ya!